drives and the leaders leads. So definitely needs to be, of course, expert. So lead with their expertise. So know everything about their field, but at the same time have a must-have is great communication skills, great people skills, and all the soft skills that I usually, for example, work a lot with most of my clients in the sector, because some of them, they have a natural predisposition for the tech and for the, like they have very structured mindset, and so coaching helps them to to find their social and soft skills, and and they can improve them, of course, at their own pace. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely, so this is being a great leader is being a great communicator, being a people person, and is someone that has a flexible approach, and yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned the soft skills because CTOs usually hone their hard skills. They focus on the technology and how to work with the IT guys in the technical department. And the soft skills are usually probably, on the second or third line.
Yeah.
So when you say soft skills and communication skills, what specifically do you have in mind? How can someone assess whether the soft skills are on a reasonable level?
Well, that's it's not as measurable as a real result. So definitely, they can always ask for feedback, not just give feedback, but just ask for themselves. Some assessment tools are very useful, and many companies use them, like Disk, Insight, or even the 360 degree review that companies do annually. So it's not very easy to measure them, but you can measure your satisfaction, for example, your personal satisfaction, and also the people around you can say what they think and how satisfied they are with your leadership, with your communication, with your flexibility, for example, problem solving, and so on and so on. Sky's the limit here
Mm.
again. So yeah.
And also the word leadership involves lots of other sub skills, if you can say so. If I just compare it with some of the hard skills, it's very straightforward. We say programming in Java, and then someone either knows how to program in Java or does not know. But leadership, anyone can be a leader, right? The kids at school can lead other kids on the playground. But what does it really mean? What can someone imagine when you say leadership skills?
To become a good leader, I believe you need a great level of empathy, or at least to make an effort to become as empathetic as possible. You are a great leader when you can put yourself in someone else's shoes. At the same time, you have to keep a distance. You don't have to do their jobs. I mean, especially if you're a leader, if you are in the board and like a C-suite professional, but someone that is able to listen and is able to communicate at different levels. So understanding, someone that can read the room and can adjust their vocabulary to the room they are in. Someone that of course, can communicate clearly, like grammar wise and language wise, but at the same time also be sensitive and attentive to the body language of other people and reading what's around them. So yes, these are some of the things that can a good leader should follow.
Interesting. There are all these other skills like speaking skill, presentation skill, probably English as well, because when you say grammar, of course, it's a large aspect of our communication
It
these
really
days.
depends where you live. I mean, it can be
Mm,
grammar for your own country and your own language. It doesn't have to be
so
English
true.
necessarily.
So true, so true. And you also mentioned the communication with other stakeholders, which is more important for the tech executives or executives in technology as well. So, what does that entail? What do you imagine when you say communication with other stakeholders? How can someone be more useful when communicating with non-technical stakeholders?
Again, I always recommend to lead with your expertise. So make sure that, of course, be prepared or over prepared. But at the same time, try to understand who's around you, and also to understand their needs. And it can be the company's needs, maybe is stakeholders, or maybe is the team's needs if it's your team members. The best thing someone can do is to is to create synergies between them and other stakeholders or other collaborators. So yeah, definitely these are one of the most important ones in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Interesting, because some of the CTOs we've been working with, they also want to become better business partners.
Mm.
Usually, they are kind of on the edge when the business stakeholders are discussing some new initiatives, and usually they look down at the technical people because they don't speak the same language. So, how can someone go from being on the edge, not very involved in these business discussions, to being a lot more involved and being seen as the real business partner?
Well, to I mean, becoming a business partner of a company, you need to be completely, mostly align with the company's goals and values. So this is something that I often work on with my clients, of course, because sometimes people realize that their values don't match the company's values, which it can be quite unfortunate.
Mm.
So definitely align with the company's goals and the company's strategies goals and all the initiatives of the company. So alignment is the first step, and then, as I mentioned before, cooperations with other C-suite executives. So, for example, the CFO, the CMO, and the CEO, of course. And in this way, the synergies I was talking about earlier on is they can create these synergies, and so that you know the business can work better. And definitely, you need to understand the challenges that you may come across. You need to understand the business needs, and understand where the company is headed. And the last, I would say that the last thing is around the concept of agile, which is very
Mhm.
familiar probably with the tech industry. But being an agile person, being flexible, being adaptable. Sometimes I find some people, some tech professionals, to be very structured, and therefore flexibility is not their main strength.
Mhm.
But it's something that you can definitely, and you can absolutely can work on. um, you won't change completely, but many things, many you can reshape
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
corners, as we say in
Mhm.
Italy. And so definitely, flexibility and being agile is very important, because you can face difficulties, or different. You need to be ready to.
Mhm. Yeah. To even join the board meeting.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. And
Yes.
you also mentioned the strengths of the CTO, of the technical executive. So how can someone think about the development of the personal skills and to work on the strengths even more? Like if you work with a client, how do you go about developing some personal roadmap, or what does it even mean to work on these strengths?
Yeah. So first of all, it's important to understand where what the person wants to work on, because it is not that you just say, "Oh, I think you need that." You don't really do that. You need to understand what the person wants to work on and what the company needs. Um, and definitely, have a benchmark, as you I mean, like, have some areas to it cannot be, you really need to outline the areas that you want to work on. So it can be, as I mentioned probably earlier, communication, it can be problem solving, it can be innovative thinking, authenticity, feedback, it can be flexibility, and so on and so on. And then definitely, as I said, not just coaching can help these people, but also making sure that they attend webinars, courses, workshops. It really makes the difference. Even seminars, for example. And I mean, and especially the tech industry is so complex and so up to date. I mean, it's not something like English
Mm,
literature.
yeah.
You probably, if you missed something, is not a big deal because you have the
Mm,
time to catch up. Technologies doesn't work like that, especially now with AI and so on. Is really, so fast. So you really need to stay up to date with the latest trends all the times. So this is another thing. But the way you keep up with that, like that really highlights a certain level of flexibility. So that
mhm,
really helps. And other skills that probably they can work on, some of the strengths they should work on, definitely are empathy.
mm,
So you really need to understand how to find a way for you to be as empathetic as possible.
mm,
Because I mean, some people are more empathetic, some people are less. So, and there is no right or wrong, but we can find a way, the best way for that person to be as empathetic as possible.
mm,
And or other skills, for example, conflict resolution. I mean, you need a very high level of people skills, and and you need to know how people work, and you need to listen, you need to think forward, you need to be a forward thinker when you manage a conflict between people. And as mentioned already, feedback is mandatory.
mhm.
Feedback that you give and feedback that you ask to your peers, to your superiors, and to your subordinates. This is something very, very important.
Mm. It's also interesting that you mentioned empathy, which probably everyone agrees that there should be more empathy. But how can someone learn it? How to practice this new skill? Have you seen any interesting courses or books or something that you would suggest that everyone in the tech space reads or learns from?
Well, there are so many books, and there are so many things that you can do. But I think the first thing that you can do, because I always say, you can, of course, reading is excellent, and learning and watching tutorials, but if you only work on that and not on the person, it can be very superficial. So I work with the person behind the leader. I always say that, behind the professional. I work with the person. And empathy, I think, just basically, literally go to the basics. So see what empathy is for you, what you would like to achieve, and see how satisfied, for example, of your empathy now, and where is your, 10 out of 10. Of course,
Mm,
your 10 out of 10 is different than my 10 out of 10 or someone else's. So in this way, it's still the person that gives themselves the threshold and
mm,
the goal. So of course, empathy is a wide concept, and it in I mean, there are so many. It's like an umbrella concept. So under empathy, there is listening, there is observation, there is sensitivity. There are so many, and communication, and genuine interest in people, for example. Again, you can even divide empathy into smaller, in micro
Mhm.
categories, and then have your micro goals and understand. Maybe someone has excellent listening skills, but not as good people skills, for example. And so definitely is something that you can definitely work on and practice. Um, Remember that coaching is a journey, so it's not, you click a button and you
Mhm.
become empathetic.
Mhm.
Um, there is so much commitment from the person. So yeah, I think it's something that everybody can work on, but it's definitely not overnight. And if your nature is not to be so empathetic, it would be probably a bit of a longer journey. But I've
Mhm.
seen so many progresses in my clients and even in people I know around me. And I know it's something that you can definitely work on.
And this must be challenging, especially these days when so many people work remotely in the IT space. People were working remotely even before COVID, and now it's even more prevalent. So,
Yeah.
how to lead the technical teams now while people are working remotely? Is there any specific approach, or how can a CTO even adjust the leadership style?
By working remotely is
Mhm.
now is so normal if you think about how the world has changed. I mean, it's been just 4 years, and probably 5 years ago, people would say, "Oh, that's impossible," and yeah. So first of all, I think. The most important thing is to make sure that you take care of your mental health and your physical health, because it can be alienating. And by working remotely, you need to set clear boundaries, knowing how long you're going to work. And I mean, this is a disclaimer that is important to say, to say, and to that people need to know. And it's important to set boundaries, like healthy boundaries, so knowing when you start, knowing when you stop working, knowing when you have your break, and in this way you will maintain your productivity. But in terms of, let's say that it's okay, you have mental health is okay, and your boundaries are set and healthy, then in order to lead remotely, you really need to be an excellent communicator. So you really need that.
Mhm.
You need to, communication 360 degrees. So you need to stay connected with your team. This is why boundaries are important. And it's very important to schedule one-to-one meetings with them. Is very important. I mean, it really depends, because I see some of my clients, they have like 150 people, under them, but actually they have 10 people under them, and then these 10 people have the rest of the team. So you don't have to have 150 meetings, but try to understand who's the best, the leader next, under you,
Mhm.
and make sure that you have regular meetings with them, even group meetings. Maybe you can have with all of them, in case it's just to show that you are there, that you observe them, even if you're very busy doing your stuff. That I noticed that a team that feels observed and seen is much more productive. Not in a bad way, not like observed, like the big brother, like, or something, or he's watching us, but like, yeah, he saw me and he thanked me for that and he appreciated. I mean, I'm talking on a positive
Mm.
from a positive point of view, that really can change the situation within the work environment. And another thing is, I mean, the first commandment is trust. You need
Mm.
to trust your people, you need them to trust you. And I always say, be the leader you would like to follow. Be the person you would like to, uh, be the leader that you wanted to have when you were younger or you were
Yeah.
more junior. And again, clarity is another important thing. Clear boundaries, clear expectations, clear goals, which is much more common in the tech industry, to be honest, than in other industries. I noticed, because having such a structured mindset, and it's easier to
Mhm.
to set your expectations. I think also that accountability plays a very important role. Be accountable and expect accountability from your team and direct subordinates, and of course, again, feedback is important,
Mm.
and be try. I would say, be as much as possible transparent and honest, and use an assertive language.
Mm.
An assertive communicator, and of course, it's not possible all the times, because I have people that they have teams all over the globe, literally. So it's very unlikely. Maybe they meet once a year for, if it's not even that. Some companies, actually, sometimes it's not even once a year. But if it's possible, of course, maybe you have a team that is in London, and you are in London, you can organize probably some team activities, for example. That can be something that can just unify people and create a team spirit. And as I said before, be the leader that you wanted to have when you were a junior, and be the leader that you would like to follow, and not just by the way you work. You of course show that you are the first one who is really committed, but at the same time, think about your own personal balance, like a work-life balance. And if you are because the point is, if you don't even have your own personal work-life balance, people will think, my leader doesn't have it, I won't have it. So it's a
Mm.
catch 22, and it's a can't. I mean, everybody will do the same mistakes. So the more balanced you are, the more balanced your team will be.
Interesting. And you enumerated so many different aspects of leadership, starting with trust and communication. And I'm wondering what it takes to build a high-performing technical team. Out of all of these, and maybe there are some other traits, which ones would you say are most important when someone would like to build a high-performing professional technical team?
A strong team, well, whenever possible, because I think it depends on the companies, but make sure that you hire, or make sure that your voice is heard in the hiring process, so that you hire the best talent. And of course, I'm a big supporter of the soft skills. So I would suggest, don't just look for the technical skills, which of course are mandatory, but definitely someone that has outstanding soft skills. And not just that. Imagine, especially when you work in tech, you may have cross international teams. So you need someone that is culturally aware, that is also flexible and respectful and understand, because you can have someone from a background and they have a religious holiday, for example, or they have a typical national thing that they do. So you really need to understand who you're talking to, and so you need. I think they would need to look for someone that is very empathetic, and technical, of course, and also very culturally aware, es- especially if their team is kind of international. And then, of course, it's very important to build a very strong team. It's important, if possible, try to create some synergies with the HR department, for example, and create some learning and development opportunities, making sure that it's not just you that have, I don't know, coaching or, webinars or seminars, that also your team can benefit from any opportunities, growth opportunities, and what else? I think make sure that your team is empowered by you. Make sure that you share the same goal. Make sure that they are there not because of the salary, which is very important, by the way, but by make sure that you share the same goal, and your values and vision, especially your vision, must align. So this is,
Mm.
yeah.
Interesting that you mentioned the cultural differences because I used to live in Thailand for 5 years, and it's like a new world opened up for me of what everything could go wrong when someone does not know about the cultural differences and the habits and how people take different aspects for granted often. So
Yeah,
very interesting.
absolutely. And it's interesting. I mean, I worked with a board member with a C-suite, and this person is Italian, and but works in a foreign company, and some people in the team, and also peers, so other C-suite people. So I mean, we're talking about executives, so
Mm.
they have strong experience, but still, this person came across a bit too much passionate, let's say, or too shouty. But this is the way we are, or the majority of us. It really depends where you are from, probably, and what's your background. But we are passionate, and we are, yeah, we are a bit loud, probably we Italians. So, and sometimes they were scared of my client. They were like, "Oh yeah, but don't." It's like, it's interesting
Mhm.
because there was no wrongdoing. There was nothing wrong there. It's just that this is the
Mm.
person's behavior. Probably the team was a bit. I mean, it was from in another country, so this team wasn't so culturally aware, because I understand they were from the same area.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
So yeah, that was very interesting because like, and
Mm.
was the nicest person ever,
Mm.
my client, and but these people were scared because the tone of
Mm.
voice was too high. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's
But you
interesting.
are actually kind of playing it well, right? Because you are from Italy, but you are not really shouting here. So you are kind of toned down, playing well, you know?
Yeah, because this is a podcast, so probably I would raise my voice with my
Yeah.
team, or when I become a bit more demanding. You should, yeah, should ask for the team I work with.
That would be fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. So probably the last question before we wrap it up. If you kind of imagine some of your other clients that you've been working with, some of the technical leaders, like, is there any interesting takeaway coming out of your work with these people? Something that you would also like other CTOs to know about and be careful about?
Well, the thing is, they always have the right knowledge, technical knowledge. So I would recommend them to work on their soft skills. It can be, again, courses, workshops, and so on. Hiring a coach, on taking advantage of the company's internal coaching, in case, more than mentoring, because a coach is external, so it's, as a completely different point of view. And make sure that you don't give up, because the difference between the technical skills, hard skills, and soft skills is that the majority of the hard skills, it's two plus two equal four.
Hmm.
Pretty much. You see the context. Soft skills are a bit more
Hmm. Yeah.
fluffy, let's say, so more intangible. So don't give up. Make sure that if you commit, for example, you commit to follow a personal development journey, stick with it. Make sure you don't give up, you don't miss the sessions, or um, yeah, I mean, depending on how it's organized, of course, make sure that you stick with the plan, because only by working on this and sweating on this,
Hmm.
you will get somewhere, as everything else, of course. But
Yeah.
um, you know if you are excellent in your